Hello, everyone. This is the Free American Press with your host, Alexander Horat. Today, I'm going to be talking about a new way the elites don't want you to travel anymore by reducing the speed limit for them to basically counter rising gasoline prices, basically by restricting your freedom of movement. But before I get into it, if you can please subscribe to the channel and leave a like on the video, that'll be really appreciated. So I would not be surprised, everybody, especially in California or different states around the United States, to see lower speed limits, like you have to drive 55 miles an hour again, and basically seeing a dystopian police force enforce, those horrific speed limit laws that will actually probably cause more accidents because traffic has slowed down and, the lanes are more congested and, cars in general are closer to each other. So the energy price shock of the mid 1970s led to the reduction of the maximum national speed limits from 70 miles an hour to 55 miles an hour. The 21 reduction in spread equated to gas consumption savings. Oh, because you're basically forcing people not to use gasoline. I think this is crazy. I think this is a dystopian that the government can basically, say you can only get this limited amount of gasoline, you can only drive this fast, especially 55 miles an hour, change the whole speed limit laws, not in the way to actually save people's lives, but just to enforce their own agenda. The IAE has unveiled a 10-point action plan it hopes Western countries will implement to curtail oil demand. So reduce speed limits on highways by at least 10 kilometers, work from home up to 3 days a week where possible, car-free Sundays in cities, make the use of public transport cheaper, alternative private car access to roads in large city, increase car sharing, promote efficient driving for freight trucks and delivery goods, using high speed and night trains instead of planes where possible, avoid business air travel where alternative options exist, reinforce the adoption of electric and more efficient vehicles. But the problem is that these electric vehicles really aren't more efficient. They're still using oil and coal power plants to make that electricity because they're getting rid of our hydroelectric dams here in California, a good source of free energy. And these cars have really bad batteries, and that cause really bad chemicals to be put in our ground and our groundwater, these lithium batteries. And it's really just crazy what these elites want us to do, basically not, travel at all. And really, I think the reason why they're making the oil prices go so high is because for the few people who still do buy oil, the oil companies are still going to be making as much money, plus way more than they were before, a huge more amount of money, because it only costs like $5 to produce a barrel of oil, even in the United States. And in Saudi Arabia, it's like 280, possibly lower than that. Those are just official figures. And a barrel of oil is more than $100, and in Venezuela, oil is cheaper than water, and it's completely crazy. But that's definitely what they want to do. It's the Green New Deal. They don't want people to travel. They want to put everybody in smart cities where they can keep an eye on them. It's basically, the same playbook, repackaged. We saw with the first emperor of China. He actually moved all his nobles and a lot of his people into one city's capital city so he could keep an eye on them. And generally, it's much more of a surveillance state in the cities compared to the rural areas, because honestly, it costs a lot more to patrol, large areas of rural, places, especially when the population's less, harder to put cameras and stuff. And, people are just more free all around. While in the big cities, you're kind of stuck in one place, big city with huge militarized police forces. And that's what they want, UN smart cities, put on like the coast of California. They don't want anybody living in the mountains anymore. And you know what? It's time for change. It's time for freedom. It's time for the people in the rural areas, especially, to stand up for their freedom and their rights, and the people in the cities as well. It's time for us to get rid of our dystopian, crazy governments, and it's time for us to have, freedom governments. It's time for good people to start getting interested in public office, running for local office. It's really time for them to do that, because we're basically seeing, especially in my county, our county is actually run by a bunch of communists, even though it's the most conservative county in California, because good people refuse to do anything, because they think, politics, I don't want to be in politics. They don't want to do the right thing. And I really think it's time for the people to do the right thing. And for people who vote for politicians. Don't give your money to any politician who takes money from corporations or lobbyists. Then you know they're a bad politician. So I just really wanted to make a video on that. And if you'd like to support what I'm doing with the Free American Press, you can donate to my PayPal fundraiser. By donating, you're helping me continue getting the word out on how our freedoms are being taken away and how we can stop that. And I really thank you for your support. God bless to anybody who will do that. Especially a big thank you to Carl and Christine and the anonymous people who donated already. I really appreciate that. And if you'd like to follow me on my other social media platforms such as Gab, Parlar, BitChute, YouTube, Twitter, and Facebook, that would be really appreciated as well. I hope you all have a good day. God bless.